law to get medical marijuana, even though the VA says it's a legitimate treatment.
And we break down some of the year's top stories, from the fate of the new Chargers Stadium to the blackout that put millions in the dark.
KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Joanne Farian.
And I'm Peggy Pico in for Dwayne Brown. We begin with the latest on an investigation into a possible corruption at two South Bay school districts.
The San Diego County District Attorney's Office has released affidavits connected with last week's raids on the homes of current and former officials with the Sweetwater and Southwestern Community College districts. They are accused of regularly asking for expensive gifts from contractors working for the district. The San Diego Union Tribune reports those gifts include dinners, tickets to sporting events, hotel stays, and even a beauty pageant entry fee. The paper says some of those dinners were followed by key votes on construction projects. Investigators have also searched the home of a construction contractor. The DA says he gave those gifts to officials who then failed to report them as required. So far, no charges have been filed in the case.
One might say this winter's colors in San Diego are orange, blue, and red. Those are the colors of the teams playing in tomorrow night's Holiday Bowl. KPBS reporter Jose Luis Jimenez is here to tell us that the game provides more than a new bowl champion. Jose, you have to explain that. What is the economic impact to the region?
Well, Peggy, they're estimating about 60,000 fans are going to attend tomorrow night's game. And of those 60,000 fans, about half of them are coming in from out of town. And they are spending money at restaurants, in hotels, and local stores. Actually, they estimate about 44,000 room nights are going to be booked because of the Holiday Bowl and the Sister Poinsettia Bowl. And the total economic impact is estimated at $45 million. And officials say that's exactly part of the plan.
Our mission is to generate tourism for San Diego, so we're happy to report that approximately half the crowd that will be there tomorrow night is from outside of San Diego County. And we want them to stay in town. We'd love for them to stay overnight, eat in the restaurants, dine and shop in all of our local stores, and leave a lot of money behind.
And Jose, as you mentioned, a lot of the fans are doing more than just going out to eat. They're doing other things than just attending the game as well.
Yes, they're hitting a lot of the local attractions. For example, the San Diego Zoo, SeaWorld, the Wild Animal Park, the Legoland up in Carlsbad. And not only the fans are enjoying the amenities in the area, some of the players are taking them in too.
They allow the kids and the staff to have some free time, but also give them enough to enjoy their week, whether it's at SeaWorld or the zoo or going out to the ship yesterday. And our guys had a tour of the Navy SEAL training facility afterwards, and really loved it, especially a time where we're constantly in war.
So now that they've had their fun, what time is the kickoff?
Well, they get to business tomorrow night at Qualcomm Stadium at 5 p.m. And again, it's the Texas Longhorns versus the Cal Golden Bears.
All right, sounds exciting. Thank you very much. That's KPBS reporter Jose Luis Jimenez.
Home prices dropped again in San Diego County last fall. The latest Case-Shiller Home Price Index says prices fell 0.6% between September and October. The survey by Standard & Poor's has been tracking prices in the nation's top 20 housing markets since the year 2000. S&P officials say San Diego's prices are still up 53% from when the survey began 11 years ago.
The pastor of an Old Town church is hoping to find artists to help restore at least part of what was burned in a fire this week. The Monday morning fire destroyed artwork, furniture, and stained glass windows at Old Town Community Church. The original artists who did the work have passed away. Church officials say they hope restoration artists can bring back part of the church's character. Washington officials will decide the fate of a pair of crosses on top of a Camp Pendleton hill early next year. The Association of Atheists and Free Thinkers want the crosses removed and replaced with a non-religious memorial. Many Marines and their families say the crosses should remain to honor comrades killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. Some wounded warriors are facing another controversy. Joanne is talking about it with her guest over at Evening Edition's Roundtable.
There is yet another ambiguity in the legal status of medical marijuana. This time it involves military veterans in San Diego. Both the city and the federal government have been systematically shutting down medical pot dispensaries in recent months, despite California's compassionate use law. San Diego Union-Tribune reporter Christopher Cataligo looked into this issue recently and profiled the case of one man, a Navy vet, John Riccio. They join me now. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Thank you.
So, Christopher, you looked into how vets are using medical marijuana. Tell us about some of the conditions they're treating.
Well, the most common ones I ran into were pain and also various symptoms associated with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, including nausea, sleeplessness, nightmares, anger. The nausea, of course, from the traditional pain medication that that they're taking, and also the traditional medication that they're taking for the PTSD. So,
John, you were with the Navy for 8 years. You've been out for 3. Tell us a little bit about why you're using medical marijuana.
I was fortunate enough to serve my second enlistment at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, and I worked with Navy corpsmen in the medical clinic. I learned a lot about the healthcare system and what is being used to treat our troops. And I had suffered injuries while in the Navy. I did a couple tours on the USS Ogden. And when, in my last couple of years, I became tired of the same pills and different therapies that didn't make me feel healthier.
Were they pain pills? Pain medication mostly?
Right, pharmaceuticals. And so I looked into alternatives, and I found information about medical marijuana, and it led me to make the decision, once I was honorably discharged, to get a card and to start using that as my main therapy.
So you mentioned you didn't start using it till you were honorably discharged. So Christopher, what does the law say or the rules say in terms of marijuana, medical marijuana in the military?
The medical marijuana in the military, just like every other illegal drug, there's a zero tolerance policy. So if you are an active service member, if you get caught once, my understanding is you can be discharged. This new directive that was issued by the Veterans Affairs Department basically says that you can use medical marijuana in states where it's allowed, and you would not risk losing your VA benefits, which could be your treatment that you receive through the VA. So you could do them in conjunction. You could do both the medical marijuana and the traditional, whether it's pain or PTSD, medication, and you would be fine. Because
there must be some concern here in San Diego. As I mentioned earlier, we had the federal government crack down on dispensaries. We have the city shutting them down. Is there concern among the veteran community here in San Diego that by using medical marijuana that they stand to lose something or could be in trouble?
I think the main concern is if they take away access, then vets with their conditions will have to choose. Do you want to participate in quote-unquote illegal activities, getting it from other sources, going back to pharmaceutical-based drugs, and or dealing with the pain in other ways? Unfortunately, the military has, like Chris said, the zero tolerance. There's a lot of alcohol that comes in the environment. Mixed with pharmaceuticals is a deadly combination. So vets will go to any lengths, especially with PTSD and TBI, traumatic brain injury, these serious conditions. They will do what they have to do. And to make it a decision where we have to choose whether we're criminals doing illegal activities or using a compassionate therapy like medicinal marijuana.
So City Attorney Jan Goldsmith was on this show about 10 days ago, and he said his office has filed suit against at least 80 dispensaries. We know several have shut down. Last count I heard there were 40. That comes from people in the industry. So Christopher, does the military take a position in terms of if there is not access, if there are not dispensaries operating legally, and you have vets who are using it but getting it through illegal means, does that jeopardize their benefits in any way?
Well, the folks in Washington basically said that that the DA's position to come in and try to stamp out producers and growers of marijuana is not an affront, not an attack on patients themselves. That patients themselves are not they're not raiding veterans' homes to get at their medical marijuana. But what veterans like John, of course, are saying is, well, if you take away these dispensaries, if you take away these growers, you're going to force us onto the street and force us to break, you know, another federal law, basically. So, you know, it's kind of this disconnect between folks saying we're not going after veterans, but at the same time going after the places where they get their
we'll have to leave it there. Christopher Catalago and John Riccio, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I'm sure you remember the day the lights went out in San Diego. In a moment, we'll have a look back at the big blackout and what we've learned since then. And we'll revisit one of our favorite stories of the year. We'll show you how the ancient art of falconry keeps pesky gulls away from guests at the Hotel del Coronado. This is KPBS Evening Edition.
Tonight on KPBS at 8, from Phyllis Diller to the 40-year-old virgin, a look at the beloved outsider in American television and film on Make 'em Laugh, the funny business of America. Then at 10, Frontline profiles a family that has cared for the dead in a small town for 3 generations, The Undertaking. And at 11, a tsunami strikes a small town in Japan. 800 are killed, but what about the rest? The line between life and death. That's tonight on KPBS.
I'm Margaret Warner. On the next news hour, protests and politics roiling Russia 20 years after the fall of the Soviet Union. That's Tuesday on the PBS NewsHour.
The American people have named PBS
the most trusted source of news
and public affairs
for the 8th year
in a row.
Trust.
The American people have spoken.
Thank you.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
Some of the biggest local headlines of 2011. A former San Diego imam was killed by a U.S. drone strike, and the lights go out in San Diego in what would become the biggest, most expensive power outage in local history. I sat down with investigative reporter Amitha Sharma to talk about those stories. Let's start with Anwar al-Awlaki. Now, he was on a U.S. hit list for a long time. Why was he a target?
He declared war on the United States, according to the Obama administration, and he encouraged Muslims all over the world to kill Americans. He said it was their moral obligation to do this. He was the leader of al-Qaeda on the Arab Peninsula. He became radicalized. We're not sure when, but sometime 8 or 9 years ago, when he returned to Yemen after having served as the imam at the Al-Rabat Mosque in La Mesa, just 3 or 4 miles from this campus, he became radicalized and decided it was the duty of Muslims all over the world to wage jihad on America. And he's believed to have inspired the Fort Hood shooter, Major Nidal, who is accused of killing 13 people at Fort Hood 2 years ago.
How well known was he here in San Diego, and what was the reaction when he was assassinated?
He was beloved at the El Rabat Mosque when he was there back in 2000. People there, worshippers I spoke to after his killing, said that, look, this was a guy who was fluent in Arabic, spoke Arabic without an accent, spoke English without an accent, so he connected to new immigrants and people who were born and raised here. And he talked about the importance of the connection to God. He had these fabulous oratory skills, and people were mystified here as to how he went awry. When I spoke to Muslim activists in San Diego, the Council on American-Islamic Relations, the leader there, Edgar Hopada, told me that, look, we condemn what Anwar al-Awlaki stood for, what he encouraged people to do, but we do not think that this was the way of ridding the world of him. We think that instead of being assassinated, he should have been captured and brought to the United States and been given due process as any other American citizen would have been. But the United States government, their point was that, look, this is a guy, as I said earlier, who declared war on the United States, and as such, he should have been treated as an enemy combatant.
I want to move on to another big story that you covered, Amitha, the big power outage that so many people at home, they went through this power out, not just in this county, but really in various parts of Southern California, all the way into Arizona. It's been 3 months. What do we know about what caused it?
We don't know. We still don't have any answers. We do know that there is a backup system that's in place that should have been able to withstand what happened. And what happened was an Arizona power worker flipped a switch to take a piece of equipment that monitors voltage offline. And when he did that, power just should have been rerouted. It shouldn't have been a big deal. Happens all the time. But in this instance, one line went down, other lines followed, and as you saw, 7 million people from Baja California all the way to Arizona were without power. They know that the backup system didn't work as it should have, but they don't know why. We have several agencies who are looking into this.
Who's investigating?
The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, an entity called the North American Electric Reliability is looking into this. The California Independent System Operator, which is in charge of managing electricity through our grid, is also looking into this. Now, we're hearing that it could take up to a year to get answers.
Amitha Sharma, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We continue our look back at our favorite stories of the year with a visit to the Hotel del Coronado with a story that's really for the birds. From KPBS reporter Beth Accomando.
If the skies above the Hotel del Coronado are clear of birds, then Jorge Herrera is doing his job.
A wild gull living off of Del Coronado food is a very lucky bird and very, very fortunate. So all we're doing is just scaring them, intimidating them.
What George does is he brings in his birds, sets them up here on our Windsor lawn. Then he will walk around the property. What it does is obviously they're birds of prey, so they frighten the other smaller birds and the seagull.
Herrera provides bird abatement services through his company, X-Falconry. He keeps the pest birds under control by bringing in what he calls his squadron of natural predators.
I want the gulls to be scared, intimidated, and not want to be around the presence of a natural predator. And by doing so, we keep them from coming in and stealing food. I want to overload their senses. I call it a freak out. I want to freak them out. They see the wolves of the sky, sharks of the sky. They clear out.
There's good reason for the smaller birds to freak out. Hawks and falcons, like the ones Herrera brings, can be lethal to other birds, says Safari Park's Kim Caldwell, whose favorite bird of prey is a peregrine falcon named Java.
They are the fastest animal in the world. In a hunting dive, peregrines have been clocked at speeds in excess of 240 miles per hour. So the speed is just phenomenal. So they are designed for high-speed pursuit. And the one thing that really holds the falcon above all these other raptors is the fact that they almost exclusively take prey from the air.
But Herrera doesn't have to do much more than show up to scare the gulls. The simple tactic of walking around with his hawk on a perch or doing short flights is enough to flush the pesky birds away. It's an easy job for his predators.
They pretty much lounge out here. They get some sun, some nice cool ocean breeze. I'll mist them with a spray bottle or have bath pans out for them. Very minimal activity because they don't have to be up in the air the whole time to get the effect.
But the seagulls don't abandon the hotel easily. When Herrera brings out his hawk, the gulls first respond by increasing their numbers.
So what they're trying to do is intimidate her in numbers. So they're making a ruckus. With that ruckus also, you'll notice that there was gulls on the sand on the beach. They cleared out of the area. They heard the others calling out that there's a predator in the area, warning call, so they started clearing out because their instinct is survival of the fittest. Fight or flight, they're going to clear out.
The gulls also prove to be smart. They learn Herrera's schedule and hang out at the hotel on his days off.
He's a little smarter than the birds, so he does outsmart them. But they know him, so that's comical.
All these birds are a lot smarter than most people give them credit for. Seagulls and corvids like crows and ravens, they can recognize people's faces and recognize danger in individual birds.
And they recognize Herrera and his birds of prey.
So the crows would be in those palm trees. As soon as they see me, crows would recognize me and start alarming.
Herrera mixes up his schedule and the birds start to clear out and stay out. Herrera may scare gulls away, but he attracts hotel guests.
Here, we'll put it right here.
Oh, yeah, look at the birds.
They want to snap pictures and learn more about the birds.
They do recognize me, but they're not affectionate like a cat or a dog. It's all just, they're comfortable, they recognize you, and they tolerate you because they're still wild. Good girl.
Herrera considers himself lucky because his hobby is his job. It has a lot of rewards, as well as some minor dangers.
And the biggest thing is I have to be careful when I have her this high to point her away because she will go to the bathroom and drop it on my head.
Now, that was Beth Accomando reporting. Falconer Jorge Herrera has finished his season at the Hotel Dow, so now he's providing his bird abatement services at landfills in the Inland Empire. This is KPBS Evening Edition.
It's a region of majesty and mystery, home of the tallest mountains in the world. Monty Python's Michael Palin journeys across the lands in the Himalaya range to explore fascinating places.
And there you are, signing Sincerely Yours, James Bond. Exactly. Pick it up.
It's a 2,000-mile adventure filled with discovery and humor.
I don't think I need any fillings, do I?
Himalaya with Michael Palin.
Join the adventure January 2nd at 10 on KPBS.
Where can you learn the history and uncover the treasures of our region? Right here on KPBS. First, on Ken Kramer's About San Diego, discover the little-known stories behind the things and places in San Diego we see every day. Then on Crossing South, host Jorge Meraz explores Baja, Mexico, and gets to know the places frequented by the locals. Get to know the people, the food, and the customs of our neighbor to the south, only on Crossing South, starting January 5th on KPBS.
News from San Diego City Hall this year was big and bold, affecting major capital development projects and city pensions. There were major changes to how cities in California can raise local taxes for redevelopment, impacting the future of a new Charger Stadium and expanded convention center. And the future of pensions for city workers will now be in the hands of voters. Joining me to recap the year's top stories at San Diego City Hall is KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr. Katie, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Big year for redevelopment in San Diego. Tell us a little bit about the status of some of the big projects, the stadium, the convention center.
Well, the convention center, they're trying to come up with a financing plan for that. It involves money from the port, from the city, also from the hoteliers that might benefit from having a bigger convention center. It's not really clear, though, what everyone's contributions, final contributions will be. I think the port has tentatively agreed to about $60 million, but the city of San Diego, their costs are about $100 million now, although that is not set. The hoteliers would contribute money by increasing room taxes. However, there's some dissension among the ranks of the hoteliers about whether or not they actually want to do that. So that's still very much up in the air. The Chargers Stadium, not a lot of developments. They had actually wanted to combine their project, the Chargers did, with the new convention center that got zero support from the convention center people or city leaders. So that's still out there, although the NFL has renewed the loan program. It has 4 teams to build new stadiums, so that might help get things going a little bit. The library, the new downtown library, that's being built as we speak. The fundraisers have to raise about $25 million by the end of this year, so the end of this week. And they haven't released any new numbers, but they say they're confident they're going to meet their goal.
Now, redevelopment agencies, they were supposed to supply at least part of the money for some of these projects, but the governor really gave a major blow to these agencies. What did he do?
Right. Earlier this year, when he was crafting the budget that got passed this summer, he decided that redevelopment agencies were taking too much public tax money. So he signed legislation that abolished redevelopment agencies in the state, then signed another bill that said, okay, you can keep on operating, however, you have to give a lot more money to local schools. So redevelopment agencies now have to decide whether or not they want to basically buy back into the system. However, there's been a lawsuit and it's in the courts. They expect a decision sometime in January because the deadline to buy back into that redevelopment is in the middle of January. So right after the first of the year, around then, we should be seeing something happen with redevelopment.
I want to move on to pensions. Now, voters this November will actually have a chance to say whether or not they want to continue the current pension system for city employees or do something else. What's the change?
It's actually in June is the ballot measure. It would eliminate city pensions for most new city workers, excluding police officers. It would also cap what they call pensionable pay, basically base pay, for current employees for 5 years. And it's really, supporters say, meant to cap pension risks and to shift the burden of these retirement funds from the city onto the people actually getting the funds, the 401k like most people have. However, San Diego is not enrolled in Social Security, which opponents say really throws a kink in things because if your 401k goes down, you don't have Social Security to fall back on. So it's something the voters will decide on in the spring. And it seems like a lot of people are in favor of it, though. They're tired of the pension mess. They want to see something be done, even though opponents say, we've done stuff, you know.
It's going to be a big election
issue,
absolutely.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm. KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tonight on the Public Square on KPBS Evening Edition, I want to know what you think about the pair of crosses on top of a Camp Pendleton hill. They were erected as part of a memorial to fallen soldiers. And as we told you earlier, an atheist group wants the crosses removed and replaced with a non-religious memorial. The military will make a decision in the new year. What do you think? Should the crosses stay or go? Send me an email, jfarian@kpbs.org, with your thoughts. And let me know if I can use your comments on the air. You can also like us on Facebook and, of course, follow us on Twitter. And now Peggy has a recap of tonight's top stories.
Affidavits from the San Diego County District Attorney claim that some South Bay school officials asked contractors for expensive gifts. Last week, investigators raided the homes of several current and former officials with the Sweetwater and Southwestern Community College districts. No charges have been filed. Nearly 60,000 college football fans will attend the Holiday Bowl here in San Diego tomorrow night. That game and last week's Poinsettia Bowl are expected to add about $45 million to the local economy. You can watch and comment on any of the stories you saw tonight on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening, and we'll leave you with a look at the forecast.
Tonight on KPBS at 8, from Phyllis Diller to the 40-year-old virgin, a look at the beloved outsider in American television and film on Make 'em Laugh, the funny business of America. Then at 10, Frontline profiles a family that has cared for the dead in a small town for 3 generations, The Undertaking. And at 11, a tsunami strikes a small town in Japan. 800 are killed, but what about the rest? The line between life and death. That's tonight on KPBS.
In this season of giving, please consider the many reasons to support KPBS. Reasons like the PBS NewsHour, Nova, Masterpiece, Sesame Street, and many more. Reasons like curiosity, inspiration, independence, exploration, and community. Support the programs you love on KPBS before the end of the year, and you can also enjoy some tax benefits. It all depends on you. Make a difference today. Call 1-800-576-5727 or give online at kpbs.org. Happy holidays and thank you.
Influenced by graphic novels, the Baroque, woodcuts, and the ocean, this artist also carves and peels the canvas of his paintings. This is one of the few land-based sites where visitors can get a glimpse of the Pacific gray whale during its annual migration. And here you can celebrate the ocean while discovering a variety of sea life environments and their amazing inhabitants. For more information, go to kpbs.org/events. This evening's programs are made possible by the members of KPBS and our program underwriters.
At Procopio, Corey, Hargreaves, and Savage, we believe in giving back to our community. We honor that commitment by supporting over 200 nonprofit, educational, trade, and cultural organizations throughout the region. Procopio, committed to our clients and our community.
They say that charity starts at home. For over 30 years, San Diego has been home to the Bob Baker Auto Group and the many charities that we support, including public television. All this is made possible with your support of the Bob Baker Auto Group, where it's so nice to be nice.
The climate is warming and the ice caps are melting. Join KPBS to explore the changes and the consequences. First, on Nature, polar bears are living on borrowed time. Increased warming means less ice, and now grizzlies are moving in. Then at 9, Nova investigates the mystery of the melting ice sheets and how it will affect the fate of coastlines around the world. And at 10, can Antarctica's climate past offer clues to what may happen to our warming planet? Find out on Nova, Secrets Beneath the Ice. It's our future, Wednesday beginning at 8, only on KPBS. You're watching KPBS. The PBS NewsHour is made possible by the members of KPBS and our program underwriters.